House Speaker Mike Johnson pulled out a major win on Capitol Hill last night, advancing what President Trump calls the one big, beautiful bill. And that victory, it did not come without chaos, though. The vote was initially canceled and members were sent home. But then minutes later, they were asked to come back and finish the job. You may remember these were the key GOP holdouts after many meetings and phone calls with the president. The only GOP member to vote no was Congressman Thomas Massie from Kentucky. He is the man on the far right of that graphic right there. The bill made it through by a razor-thin margin of 217 to 215. Now, President Donald Trump and Speaker Johnson, they are taking victory laps. The president calling it a big first step win in a social media post. And Speaker Johnson had this message afterwards. Let's listen to that.
Thank you all for staying on a long night. We got it done. We had the requisite number of votes to move this process along, and now passing the budget resolution in the House that will go to the Senate. This is the first important step and in opening up the reconciliation process. We have a lot of hard work ahead of us, but we are going to deliver the America First agenda. We're going to deliver all of it, not just parts of it, and this was the first step in that process.
And on that note, CBS News congressional reporter Taurean Small joins us now. Taurean, thank you again for being with us today. Again, this was the first step in the process, and it was not very easy for them to get this through. It took quite a while, going back and forth, sending people home, telling them to come back. So what happens next here?
Yeah, I mean, we have to talk about the drama that was the House floor yesterday. I mean, like you said, at one point, members left. We saw members get in cars. Those cars turned back around because it was clear that Speaker Johnson had the votes. But ultimately, like you said, just narrowly passing with that razor-thin margin by one vote. They could only afford to lose 2 Republican votes on this. They ultimately got just 1 to defect. And we saw that cross the finish line. Now what's next? Well, the 2 chambers, House Republicans and Senate Republicans, have to meet to find some way in the middle, because these 2 bills that were passed in their respective chambers are drastically different. I think the biggest differing piece of legislation or instruction in the House bill compared to the Senate version is the fact that the House bill adds about $4.5 trillion to the deficit because it includes an extension of Trump's 2017 tax cuts. That's what Senate Republicans will now have to look at to mediate in order to get a cohesive bill to the president's desk.
Okay, so Taurean, you talked about the tax cuts there, but is there anything else in this plan that you can tell us about?
That's the biggest one. Democrats, though, are concerned about spending cuts that could potentially take away or at least do damage to some safety net programs. In this budget resolution that was just passed by the House, Republican leadership are calling on specific committees, so namely the House Energy and Commerce panel, to cut around $880 billion in mandatory spending. Democrats are saying, look at this. If you do the math, there aren't too many other programs in their purview that could get them to that number. The biggest one by far is Medicaid, so they believe that Republicans are hinting at cutting that very crucial program. I also pressed Senate leadership or Republican leadership about this and other Republicans, and they said maybe it is time to look at reforming the program. They've laid out a case in their minds of waste, fraud, and abuse, and they say that it wouldn't hurt to make some cuts to that program.
Okay, we'll see what comes out of that moving forward. Taurean, also on Capitol Hill yesterday, federal workers going door to door in protest. And now Republicans are urging decisions about firing civil servants be placed in the hands of cabinet secretaries and not DOJ. What else can you tell us about that?
Yeah, not too many in the conference, I should say, are willing to come out and publicly oppose these very public and very aggressive cuts to these departments, but quite a few are expressing concerns and talking internally to the White House about how to move forward with this. Lisa Murkowski, the senator from Alaska, brought up the fact that she just had a teletown hall where 1,000 of her constituents complained to her about what these cuts mean and how it's impacting her home state. She also has by far the largest number of federal workers per capita, so she's directly impacted by these sweeping cuts. Congresswoman Takias, sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, a long night yesterday, but the New York Congresswoman also said that DOGE cuts should probably be left to the hands of these appointees by the president. She doesn't necessarily agree with them. She's not going as far as saying she disagrees with them, considering she's on the DOGE caucus in the House, but says that it's probably time to let the appointees, the confirmed cabinet members, take over handling of how to treat their staff.
All right. Yeah, certainly a long night last night, Taurean Small. So we do appreciate you making the time for us on the stream today. Thanks for joining us.